Thank you. 2A. Any further comment or question?
Very briefly.
Mr. Lombardo.
I'm certain my thoughts on this matter have been adequately represented during the last few school board meetings, so I'll keep this brief and just pass along this one final comment. Although I did want to say, because it's been brought up several times, every single email that I received, I read in its entirety. I have since I got on this board, so thank you for sending those. Board members, community, it's my sincere hope that this school board, along with our solicitor and in conjunction with the ILC, can collaboratively work together to create constitutionally sound, non-discriminatory, and respectful policies that navigate gender-related matters in our district. Policies which will have the primary purpose of respecting and accommodating each and every student and staff member in this district with clear and established guidelines. Policies which offer privacy and respect to each and every student and staff member in this district. Colleagues, I ask that you join me in this, and I urge you to do that as well.
Dr. Fullerton, I'd just like to echo Mr. Lombardo's words. I'd also like to add to any of our students who may be here or listening, or their parents and our staff. I find it completely unacceptable for there to be any bullying of anybody, of any student, of any staff member, regardless of how they identify, what group they believe they belong to, what their faith is, their LGBTQ plus status or not. It is unacceptable to me. And so I want to urge you, if that occurs, we have a process for that in this district, and I would ask you to follow it. I would ask you to go to your teacher, and if your teacher doesn't help you, I would ask you to go to your principal. And if that doesn't work, you go to Dr. Egan or Dr. Cox, and if that doesn't work, you go to Dr. Gale, and if that doesn't work, you come back to us. I would hope that you don't have to go that far, but I want to make it clear that it is unacceptable for anyone to be bullied in this district, and if that's happening or it has happened, as a mom, as a school board director, I am sorry that that has happened to you, and it is unacceptable.
Any other comments? Mr. Strong.
I still have major concerns that we're voting on a group to provide advice that has their own agenda. I believe they are still using school boards and school districts to advance that agenda. I believe that's their first goal. Second goal may be to help the school. I think their first goal is to help their agenda. To me, there's no question about that. So that's my continued point of view.
Any other? Fred?
Most of what I wanted to say has been said like 18 times. But I think this board is not as far apart as it may seem. I think most of us, 7, 8, 9 of us, see the need for an athletics policy. Better to have a policy in place than try to retrofit one on the fly. And I've heard general agreement from the community, most recently by speaker number 50, that big guy Luke, that we should have a policy. I see several reasons to create and implement this policy. First is obviously safety, no need to explain. Second is fairness. ESPN just released its top 100 athletes of this century. Kobe was on there, Tom Brady was 6th, LeBron was 4th. But ahead of them all was a woman, Serena Williams. She was so dominant for so long, she won 23 major tournaments and 14 more doubles, all of them with her sister. She's worth $300 million. So my question, we have athletes and coaches on this board, my question is, if men had been eligible to compete in women's tennis these last 20 years, would we even know who Serena Williams is? My last point is simply comfort. One side seems worried exclusively about the comfort of the transgender athlete, but what about the rest of the girls on the team? Nobody's talking about them. Bringing a biological male onto a girls' team totally changes the dynamic. It's awkward. I mean, it's extremely awkward in the locker room. Enough said. I think the 9 of us agree on most of this. As you may have heard, Mr. Lombardo read a sample last time.
Did he?
It was sort of refreshingly bland, sort of good. Took like, 20 minutes. When he finished reading, he asked Dr. Gale, what exactly do you find objectionable? Where's the discrimination? As Speaker 34, Clarissa Bell, said, why is everyone calling them hateful? In closing, I'd ask my fellow board members, what's the harm in letting the board take a look at the policies that the ILC's already developed? We can say, yeah, looks good, or we can tweak it a little, or we can scrap the whole thing. What's the harm? These days, it seems anything goes. Anything goes except reviewing a document from lawyers who are Christian. Thank you, Dr. Fullerton.
Thank you, Mr. Hearn. Any other comments? Mr. Beeks.
I just think it's important that we understand that if we do approve engagement with the ILC, it still goes through the Policy Review Committee. Policy Review Committee works with the outside firm, also probably with maybe our current solicitor, and then it comes before the board. If it would be appropriate, a point of order, if I could just let the community know who is on our policy committee.
Yep.
If that's so, I mean, who's on our policy committee, right? Mitch, Nikki, and Dell. So, and as well as Dr. Gale. So, this is just a process to get additional advice, to seek out other advice. We may or may not end up with the policies, but this is strictly, there's a process that it will go through for us to then, as a board, decide where it's at. And again, as clear up the community, we're seeking to engagement on
Well, student records, yes.
So those are the policies, because I know we said that last time, LNP said we didn't, but that is what it is, so.
I think it's important to note that in recent conversations, we've gotten to a point that we are expecting, if we vote to take the ILC under contract, that they would be working in conjunction with Saxton and Stump, and that whatever policies they come up with, again, as Mr. Beeks said, they go through the process. Nothing's a done deal until it comes before the board, and we make a decision as to whether we want to tweak it or accept it or eliminate it entirely. So again, it's not a matter that we are avoiding any particular law firm, but we are bringing on additional counsel, and it's not going to hurt us to bring that on board, because they do have expertise in this particular area, and they are working, these two law firms are working together in other districts in the past and currently. So this is nothing new to have them work together, and I think that's important to note.
Thank you, Ms. Wirt. Mr. Swigert. Mr. Jackson. I'll say this. I sat on a Zoom with several community members, several that are sitting here tonight, several that spoke, several that are listening at home. And maybe it was 25 years of experience of working in schools where there wasn't any policy. Maybe it's 25 years of not running into the challenges described today. But I sat there that night and, I said there wasn't necessarily a need for policy if things happen in the school in the correct manner. And you're talking about somebody who's been in schools where it has been 98% white, and they've never seen an African American before, in schools where transgenderism first started and students started to come out, and we had to adjust to how we did business, so to speak, and how we integrated people who were finding out about themselves while others were not understanding what was happening. It was all those experiences that led me to believe the way that I believed. And fundamentally, that really hasn't changed. However, the countless emails, each of what I've read, the countless hours of public testimony have made me realize that this community wants policy in some way, shape, or form. And so this issue comes down to who best does that and how we can reunite our communities. Because, quite frankly, they're divided, and that's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because I wasn't a Penn Manor resident for life. I chose to live here. And I chose to live here because of the community. And that's not going to change. My colleagues and I were going to agree to disagree on whether or not we hire another outside firm. I'm of the firm belief that we have a solicitor, and until recently, we truly did not engage them in the act of developing these policies. And in some way, I guess I don't want to let them off the hook. I want them to do their job. And I want them to craft the policies that will begin to unite us, both as a board and as a community. I don't see the need for the ILC, not because they're Christian or whatever. Believe half of what you read, a quarter of what is said. Quite frankly, I wasn't excited to meet them. After that meeting, there'll be 8 other people up here that will say that my viewpoint changed. They represented themselves fairly, whether I agree or disagree. Just like I think everybody in here represented themselves fairly, whether I agree or disagree. And we appreciate that. This country was built on the backbone of civil discourse, and that's what we had here tonight. If we all agreed with each other, all of you would be waving terrible towels right now, pledging your allegiance to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But that's not how it works. I will respectfully disagree with some of my colleagues here tonight, not because I have some righteous indignation towards the ILC or what they represent or anything of that nature, but because I believe we have solicitors that do have the experience to do the job, that we haven't asked them to do their job, and I think we need to consult with them first and have them represent us in the way that we want them to be represented. So with that, I will ask 2A, all in favor? Oh, we did have a motion, didn't we?
No, we didn't get
Oh, we didn't get a motion?
We had discussion first.
All right, meeting adjourned.
You're tired.
No, I'm kidding. I'll never make it to my car. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further comment or question? All those in favor?
5 affirmative votes.
All those opposed?
4 opposed.
Motion carries. So at this time, I believe it's the will of the board to direct Dr. Gale to begin those conversations with the ILC and Saxon and Stump concerning the student records and athletics policy. Item 3. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any further comment or question? All those in favor?
9 affirmative votes.
And item 4, A through K.
So move.
And a second?
Second.
Any further comment or question? All those in favor?
9 affirmative votes.
At this time, we have reached the second opportunity for citizens to comment. If you've already commented on item 2A, you may not speak again because we, as per board policy, can only speak on items once.
Fuck you.